welcome back to another episode of Working for the Rich and Famous podcast. Hope you're all well. Thanks again for listening in every Wednesday. If you are liking each of these episodes, please do come and subscribe. It means that you're notified each week when we release new ones. But they seem to be going really well, as I say, every week, which is nice. We still continue to get some lovely feedback and lots of people wanting to come and be guests, which is fabulous. As you know, we do try and sort of put the focus on just looking into different careers, really, into the private sector, and sort of speak to lots of different people in all parts of the world who do all sorts of different things. So just to give a real good sort of like rounded view really on what opportunities are available to you. And today we've got someone again slightly different, which I'm really excited to welcome to the show. We've got Helen on today. And Helen, God, you've done it all, haven't you? She's worked on cruise ships. We haven't had anybody on yet who's worked on cruise ships. She sort of transitioned across from cruise ships onto yachts, which I know a lot of people are trying to do at the minute. So quite good to sort of find out how she did that. She's worked in Saudi, which I'm really keen to sort of talk a little bit about. We do lots of recruitment in Saudi, and it's an amazing place that people are scared of unnecessarily really nowadays. I'm really keen to sort of find out a bit more about that. And then you know, she's left her sort of yachting career, and she's now started a career for herself, training people in yachting and soon private households. So lots to talk about, lots to cover. So let's dive straight in. Helen, how are you?
Hi, Philippa. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for joining.
Oh, well, I'm pleasure. I'm really happy and I'm excited to be here.
Good, fabulous. So as I sort of just said, we have got a lot to cover. You have done a lot, which is wicked. I love people that have done loads of stuff. It gives us loads of things to get stuck into. So where did all this start for you then? So like, what did you do right at the start before you even sort of got into maybe the cruise ships or, you know, hospitality in itself?
I decided after I left school that I wanted to travel, much like a lot of people. And I also had this thirst for helping people in a holistic way. So I started actually as a masseuse and physical therapist. I went to college, I studied anatomy and physiology and specialist massage. And I thought, well, the best environment for me to go on with those kind of ideas is going to be a cruise ship. So I studied again with a specific cruise line. I went out to sea with them for about a year or 2 years, I think it was in the end, and worked in the spa and got to travel, earn some money, and see places, which was great. And I think towards the end of that, I just wanted something a little bit more specific and personable. I wanted to work one-on-one and just downscale it a little bit. So entered yachting, private super yachts, and it wasn't easy at the beginning. The skills didn't transition very well, but I was very lucky that my first job was a really good boat. So they found me back in that day. I mean, this is 10 or 12 years ago. Back in those days, the dual role wasn't so much of a big thing. It is now, I think. We're seeing more of that, but when you had these specialist skills along with stewardessing, they weren't quite so popular. So
when you say dual, do you mean massage and stewardessing?
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah, that's what. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so I went on to my first boat. It was a great boat. I loved it. I learned everything I needed to learn there in how the standards and the industry should be run. I had a fantastic second stew, an awesome chief stew, and just really, I loved both elements. So I really specialised in the housekeeping and service, but then I was also the personal masseuse as well on board, which I loved both at that time.
You know what? We spoke to last week. We had on a yachty, and she was saying it's so true that first position on your first yacht will make or break your yachting career, really. Because if it's the right boat and you're trained well and you're with the right people, you will love it. But quite easily, if it's the wrong fit, you'll hate it. So it's so important, crucial, isn't it? That first position.
Yeah, absolutely. It sets the precedent. And you know, if you went in and the standards were really low, it was chaotic, there wasn't much safety management involved, you know, you get this impression that it's all going to be like that. And you know, it's not how it should be. It's it's a specific industry, very professionally run and led. And with boats like Octopus that have been, the leaders in the industry in terms of crew and how they manage everything. That's where I see things and how I like to work. When I was there, when I was in it.
Yeah, fair. Did you find it quite difficult getting that first position, like the transitioning across from the cruise ships? Were you up against lots of other candidates, or did you sort of slot in quite easily?
Yeah, I think at the time I remember it took a while, and I was really panicked because it took between like 2 to 3 weeks, I think. But in hindsight, that was actually no time at all.
No, that's quick.
How I am as a person, I was like, this is taking forever. Like how am I going to do this? I was in Palma and ran out of money quite quickly. We've all been there, and I was day working, so that was fortunate to be doing it at the time. But I think it was like 3 to 4, maybe 4 weeks in total, and that really isn't a lot in the scheme of things.
Yeah, and then how long were you? That was your first position. How long were you in yachting for?
Yeah, so that was a year, and then I went on to be, it must be 10, 11 years in total on the sea. I mean, I took some breaks in between, which I think are quite important, a good month solid off, but 10 years, 10, 11 years in total, yeah.
Wow. And did you, were you able to continue that dual role aspect, or did you have to end up sort of phasing the massage out and focusing on service, or vice versa?
Yeah, exactly that. I did. I started naturally to phase the massage out because I loved the housekeeping aspect of it. I kind of excelled in it and wanted to become a good team leader in that role as well. So helping the girls and mentoring the girls underneath me into how to really keep the interior in tip-top condition. And so that progressed naturally into head housekeeper, second stew, and then developed more service. So I was service stew, and then eventually chief stewardess in the end. Yeah.
And probably what you found is throughout your career, if you're going on to bigger boats, they would just have much more like independent spa teams anyway. You wouldn't need the dual roles on big boats, would you? Because you've got so many crew.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and it's important that person who's in the spa really is able to, because I was burnt out by the end of it as well.
Yeah.
Doing that two sides. You'd be housekeeping all day, and then you'd be expected to be up and away with the owners and the guests in the spa for however long they needed, and it was such a lot, it was really tired at the end. It's very physical work, just the hours were very long. So I think in the end I was quite happy to sort of specialize in the one area, service and housekeeping, and then phase the massage out, as you said. Yeah.
And where around the world did your yachting career take you?
Yeah, worldwide. I was just so lucky to have seen some really, really incredible places, and I've circumnavigated the globe, and we worked out, which is quite phenomenal. About the only continent that I didn't get to see much of was, country I didn't see much of was Australia and New Zealand. So didn't get quite around that far, but certainly the Caribbean, certainly all of the Med, and you do those the milk run, as we call it, and did that plenty of times. Yeah, and then obviously on the cruise ships you do as well. So yeah, just amazing places to be able to see whilst you're getting paid. I think is quite cool.
You know what? I don't know anything about the cruise world because we don't do any recruitment in it. I've never been on a cruise. I just don't know anything about it. And we do actually get quite a lot of cruise applicants. And we are able to help a lot of them, especially if they want to go work in the Middle East. But yeah, it's just a world I don't know anything about. A cruise holiday is on my list, but now's probably not the best time. But people that have worked in cruise liners have loved it. And it's a great place to start.
Yeah, definitely. They get a lot of skills from there. There is you're working in a sort of massive team and crew, so you have learned adaptability. You've learned just being able to navigate and fit into a large team, which is great. You meet so many cultures, so many nationalities, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, fair. And I think a lot of people think it's a fairly natural transition from cruise to yacht, but they're probably such they're such different things. Like, you can't compare a career in a cruise line, a career on a yacht. Probably for loads of reasons, but I thought mainly, especially when you first move, you go into a small yacht, you're all of a sudden, instead of being one of 2,000 crew, you're probably one of 3 crew. What a difference.
Yeah, that's it. About the only thing that's sort of similar is that you're on you're off land, you're on sea. You know, from the size of it to the team, to your heads of department, to how the structure is run, to the safety elements of it. It is really different. And it's what where you see yourself individually, where you more like to be. And I certainly loved private super yachts in the end.
Cool. And so then sort of 10, 12 years on the water, you obviously loved the yachting career, having sort of done it for so long. What was it that, you know, why did you get to the point where you wanted to sort of move back on land?
I throughout the years in yachting, I actually had, I'd say, about 50-50 good experience to bad, really. There was certainly a number of issues that I see morally within the industry that I wished I could change or improve or, you know, administer. And, you know, toward the end, I sort of felt like I was facing a losing battle. And I got to an age, I was just feeling like I needed to have my feet on the ground. I think I was 32, 31. And I thought, I really need a house. I want a base. I don't want to keep sort of getting off and going and staying with people or renting apartments or whatever it was. I wanted a home and a place to stay and live. And so that brought me to London, which is obviously my home. My sister's there, and I've got a lovely little studio there. And London was great, and that's where I really developed into land-based roles, into private households, and then developed my own business from there. And it was great for a time, obviously 4 years, but London is hard work. And decided that after COVID hit, that the business wasn't going to go any further by myself, and I wanted to develop much more my training abilities and training skills. So that's what brought me to where I am now.
Okay. And the business that, just to sort of let everybody know what your business was, Helen Grundy, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about the services that you were offering? Because, you sort of took everything that you'd learned across your entire career and sort of started offering on more of a consultancy basis to clients, weren't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be quite so easy, but I think in life, when things are meant for you, or when on another spiritual level, you're ready, these things become easy. And setting up the business, Helen Grundy Limited, was effortless. I found an accountant straight away. I got the name, my social media website, and marketing all in place, and really, really ran with it. And this was only last year. So I wanted to liaise with agencies and offer my trainings with them. So that's what I did. And then I worked in primarily private households, but also on board. So I would be outsourced to train the super yacht crew on board and in their houses. And now what we're seeing is we're developing all of this and putting it online, which has been hugely exciting, and where I'm really pleased to be at with now.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think one of the things that's come out of this COVID crisis is everybody's adapting with the whole the way of running your life virtually, which is like been super interesting to see, and probably about time, to be honest. There's loads I want to talk about in terms of where you're at now, but just before we do, you touched on some of the moral issues that were bothering you in yachting, which sort of helped you come to the decision that it was sort of time to leave. What kind of things were you sort of feeling that you were losing? Are you saying you're losing a battle?
Yeah, I did. It's a primarily male-orientated industry, and whereas offices and things like that are usually dominated by males, that I found that very hard to understand and appreciate, because I thought that there should be much more acceptance for women I also felt a strong passion for the interior positions, so chief stewardess, second stewardess, everything should be recognised professionally. So we're fortunate to obviously work under the guest and a Yami umbrella, and they have fought very hard and very long to recognise the interior positions as a profession. So service is now fully trained and accredited. All levels of housekeeping is fully trained and accredited. And back then it wasn't taken seriously at all. And the environment on the yacht and the owner is not. There's nothing for him if the interior isn't as standard and run as properly as it could be. So
to be quite brash about it, were you finding a lot of yachts were recruiting lots of pretty girls that weren't really very good at their job? Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, I found that the recruitment process as well was just
focusing on the wrong things.
Exactly that. I mean, there's a certain amount of course we have to adhere to the owner's wishes and their requests, and some are completely crazy and out there. But from our side, from recruitment and from the hiring perspective, we need to make sure there's better practices in place that are taken into account. So would you hire that person if their picture was removed from a CV? Back in my day, you wouldn't have. Would you take into account their age, their race, their nationality, all of these kind of things? Or are you just basing this on looks and how they're seen physically?
It's so true, because it's obviously outside. It's a tricky subject to talk about, but it's so outside of private hospitality, it's completely illegal to base any recruitment decision on anything other than competence doing the job. And people in the legal industry or pharmaceutical or accounting would be horrified to think that I get requests for certain heights, certain weights, certain hair colour. There's absolutely, even now, there's no way we could submit a yachting CV without a photo on it, even now. And so, like you're saying, we are up against it, and it is difficult to get things changed. And yes, owners of a yacht may have preferences on certain presentations of candidates, which we can't, get around really. But I completely agree with you. There's so much. I'd like to think less so now than before, but there has been and will always be such a focus on the profile of the person rather than the competence of the person.
Absolutely. And I really am about bringing attention to that, along with many other platforms that are out there as well, of course. And I'll just mention a few that I'm recently connecting with on social media, which has been huge. And I stopped all my not stopped, but I dipped out of yachting for quite a while. I wasn't really interested in it for a long time, needed a break. And then I've come back in, and huge waves, pun intended, are being made. You have the Yacht Purser, you have Yachts Mermaids, you have She of the Sea, you have Margarita and Mam. These kind of people are just making the crew coach. You are making real industry changes, which is really needed. Eliminating the bullying, eliminating the sexism, this kind of thing. I want that to be recognised, just as how you say in the corporate world, it's not allowed. There's certain practices in place. So why isn't that available in the yachting industry?
Yeah, good. And it's not good enough to say it's just not how it works here. So the line has always been in private hospitality, it's how it always is. It's very important. And I do understand presentation is important to a degree. You want the people serving you to be healthy and hygienic and not smell like. I get all of that, but yeah, the focus does need to shift. And also a little bit of sexism on the other side. I really struggle to place male stewards, and so often 95% of the requests for service staff or stewardesses is female, and they may say accommodation restrictions and all the rest, but that's just a line. But males have. I think it's more difficult for males to get housekeeping and service opportunities. It's more difficult for females to get captain and more sort of senior opportunities. And then there's you know, there's boats that we recruit for that we can only send people forward who are 173 centimetres tall. All of their service crew, there's about 15 of them, all have to be 173 centimetres tall. They would take someone that works in McDonald's who's the right height, than take someone that's worked in 5-star service environments that's too short. Like, how ridiculous is that? That's exactly, yeah.
That's crazy talk. You know, how does how someone physically looks showcase what they are capable of work-wise? It doesn't make sense to me. And you know, we need better practices in place for things like that. You know, I've got tattoos as well.
Yeah, same.
Which was always interesting for me, because people would say, you know, make sure you can cover them. Fine, I completely respect. It's not everyone's look, but it doesn't have any. It doesn't place any factor on how I develop, how I operate as a stewardess or as a masseuse. Anything, you know, it's just what I like.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, good. I agree with you. I've seen these people crop up in sort of organisations and groups to really sort of try and implement this change. It's great, because it is happening, and the change is happening, and it's shifting. It's just slow, but I can see why that was just frustrating, especially as a chief stew, and you are recruiting and you're restricted by such stupid parameters, and you end up with a substandard team because they look good, rather than the best team that you knew you could have had.
Absolutely, yeah. And the biggest thing is looking at the crew turnover on a vessel. Is it high? Is it low? And what does everybody look like? Are they taking in factors that they will mix and gel with the team and build a solid environment, or is it just in out kind of thing, which I think is a massive red flag to how the vessel can run, you know?
Yeah, if you turn up to a boat and and it's funny because they will assess you as a candidate as your what do you call it? Longevity in previous roles. So if your CV looks like you've moved around a bit, the employer or the captain will say, "Nah, you're flaky, you've moved around." Yeah, they should look at themselves and be like, "Hold on a minute, we've got massive staff turnover, so we shouldn't judge so quickly on people that move around when our staff turnover is so high." But then, yeah, I would definitely look at staff turnover, and I'd definitely look at does everybody look identical to each other? Do you know what I mean? Because yeah, it'd definitely be a red flag. Okay, so moving on, because again, there's so much more I want to cover. I want to touch on your time in Saudi.
Yeah.
How did it come about? Were you scared of going? Was it as you thought? Would you recommend it?
Right. So this was pretty much exactly this time last year, and I had finished a job, and I got approached for this job via an agency that I worked with previously before, and they said, "We've got a 6 to 7 week job in Saudi for you to be one of 100 butlers," and from the beginning to the end of that, it was very tumultuous. I don't know if that's a word. If I pronounced it right, whatever. But it was up and down along the whole sort of way. And I hadn't had any experience with that side of the world before. I was really excited to go. I went with one of my friends. I got her the job as well. And I'm quite a tenacious kind of person, so I just sort of, went head on into it. And as soon as I got there, it was quite evident that there was different sets of skills amongst the 100 staff. So I was put quite quickly into head butler and trainer role, and set about sort of training and really developing the team's skill sets so that we were all equal and across the board, which I loved, absolutely loved that aspect of it. We were in Jeddah in a nice hotel. They looked after us completely. And the culture there is different, so I would say it took a little bit of adjusting to. They're still very backward in some of their ways, certainly with female to male kind of ideas. But all in all, like a really exciting and totally unique experience. You know, when we finally got into the where he had specific requirements, so certain females weren't allowed and certain only male at this time and for this person. So there's lots of rules and regulations that go about how they want things run. So it's always good to, if you are doing a trip on there, do a lot of research, a lot of background, get a lot of background information on it, because they're very different to us. and what they want, you know. And I didn't do much of that, but I learned very quickly while I was there, you know. And yeah, 7 weeks I think it was in total. I think the heat was something that I still remember.
Just going to say, the project you went out to, we're very familiar with, and it's temporary, and you're thrown in it, and it's a sink or swim situation, but it's in the height of the summer.
Yeah, that was probably the worst bit to get used to. It, in the middle of the day, and you're in your, you know, your full butler uniform. It's 40 plus degrees. You can't fathom. And it kind of messes with you a little bit toward the end, you know. It's just so hot, and you are going from, if you're traveling, you need to be in air conditioned like 100% of the time. So that's what I spent my life doing. Just, you didn't go out really, you just were inside as much as possible.
A nice experience, because it's doing the job that you know. They incorporated some of the training elements, which is what you love. So the role sort of was adapted to sort of suit you perfectly, and it's just something completely different. And that's what we sort of say to people that we're talking to about going to the Middle East. Like, you won't get the opportunity again, probably, and why not? It'll be hard and it'll be challenging, but you'll come back, you know, stronger for it. Like, it's such a great opportunity. I went out there in January, and I was so pleasantly surprised how unintimidated I felt, and how welcoming people were. Obviously, I wasn't working, I was there doing meetings, so it's a bit different, but yeah, good. So you're pleased that you went and did that one?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
great experience. I really did learn a lot. I developed a lot, like you say, and if I was to say to anyone going to do it, I would encourage that. I would say it's a great thing to do and experience, but yeah, just do your research beforehand, and get some background information on them, and don't be scared in any way. It's not, people were like, oh, Saudi Arabia, like, oh, how's that going to be? And it's not scary or threatening at all.
no, not at all.
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
they're different.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving on to today then. So you're now, you are offering training on consultancy basis through your own company, but you've chosen post-COVID to team up with an established training school that you're now sort of a key part of. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so now I work completely under the umbrella of the Crew Academy, whom I was so privileged to be headhunted for by the CEO and visionary, which is Andrew Rock. He's an incredible force of nature in the industry, particularly yachting industry. I came sort of headfirst into this platform that we've developed, which is the Purser online course. So a completely virtual learning experience. We developed it with an incredible guy called Paul Sykes, and he has put this together, and it's one of its kind, and it's just brilliant. We've got a full intake this particular intake at the minute. It's full, and we've got another 2 cohorts running this year, I believe, and they're beginning to get booked up as well. But we add so much into this course for our students. There's an option to do residential as well, of course, but we have to wait and see how obviously the COVID thing goes with that. But the virtual learning experience really does help people do this alongside their life. You know, they can do it if you're working. We've got girls that are in charter at the minute, and they'll come back to it, and you can do it at your pace.
Yeah.
So it's just a phenomenal thing to see come into fruition. It's going really, really well.
And yeah, I don't know any other online course that's similar. So it's really offering something quite unique, which now of all time is amazing. Yeah. Specifically for pursers at the minute?
Specifically for pursers, yeah. And we will look into doing service and housekeeping elements online as well, and management and leadership as well, which is going to be offered at the end of later on in this year. So that will be completely based online as well, which will be available to people outside of yachting as well. So you'll get accredited in a full management and leadership program, which you can take anywhere with you. You know, it doesn't have to be in yachting. It can be private households and any hospitality-based service, really.
Yeah, brilliant. And how will people find this course then? If they come to the Crew Academy website?
That's it. Yeah. So www.thecrewacademy.com.
Yeah.
You can follow me on social media at Helen Grundy, and I have links into everything what we're doing on the Crew Academy there as well.
Yeah, that's so good for people listening, because I think a lot of people listening were maybe either in the yachting career and wanting to upskill. They may be thinking about a career in yachting. So now I think now of all time, people have been using this opportunity during lockdown and COVID to really think about what they're doing and what they want to be doing. I think it's really forced us to slow down. I wouldn't have started the podcast, to be honest, if it wasn't for lockdown. So people are really sort of like rethinking how they're spending their time, where they're spending their time, and what they want to be doing moving forward. So now is the perfect time, I think, for people to have access to these online courses and, opportunities or things that are going to, create opportunities for them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. This can be a hugely creative time. Like you say, you do things that you perhaps have never been able to do before, and this is what this is enabling now. So you'll be able to be fully accredited in the purser role or chief stewardess role, and take that. And we're starting to want to pave a way for individuals with a career path in yachting, as opposed to, I'm not quite sure. We also want to really focus on the hiring and recruitment aspect in there. So we include a lot in the modules about things like that, and how to employ, how to hire, and how they can, like I say, create a career path and really get the most out of their career in yachting.
Yeah, good. Oh, very exciting.
Yeah.
And you're loving it, I assume. It's like different for you because you've gone from working on your own business to being part of a team again.
Yeah, love it though. Really happy because I can see a real like-minded connection between the team that we have there. We also run a recruitment company on the side, which is the Crew Hunter, and I mix with the girls in the office there on a daily basis, and they're just incredible. There's such a great atmosphere and team energy that we've got that I love.
Yeah, honestly, when I think there are lots of benefits having your own company and working on your own, and obviously it's how Silver Swan started. I was pretty much sat my pants at home on my own most of the time, and then you make the decision to grow your company or join other people, and you think, oh, I'm going to lose some benefits, which is do what you want when you want. But for me, same as you, the benefit, the things that you gain, which is the sort of like work with other people and collaboration and the social element, massively outweigh the couple of things that you might have lost, which is a bit of independence, really. And yeah.
So true, and I think now more than ever as well with the COVID thing, I've totally flipped 180 in terms of, well, we all have, of course, on how you can manage things going forward. It's changed everything, and I wouldn't want to be on my own necessarily now. I need to be within a team environment and helping and mentoring that way, because things just look a little bit uncertain at the minute out there, and a little bit crazy with the pandemic. So
yeah, exactly. And so what does the sort of future hold for you then, sort of wrap up? So this is a fairly new, obviously been training forever, but this job's sort of fairly new. So do you sort of hope that this is a long-term thing for you and just keep adding to the courses?
Yeah, definitely. So we will just get bigger and bigger, like how we see. We want to eventually get more trainers on board at some point. We will offer more residential courses which are based in France, which are awesome as well. You've got a sort of a slot intensive week or 10 days training, or you've got the option of having more 9 to 12 weeks based online. And we're just going to develop that fully.
Yeah.
We want to branch into private households. We want to develop this online platform into so many areas and be accessible for so many people.
Cool, really exciting. Okay, fab. Well, as you sort of said earlier, Crew Academy website is the place to go, and the virtual courses are there now, and they're only going to grow in terms of what you're offering, which is super exciting. Well, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us all about everything that you've done. Hope people have found it inspiring and are interested now more so in potentially have got their career in the cruise liners, or obviously transitioning to yachting, and definitely people who are interested in the Middle East. So fabulous. So thank you very much for that. Thank you to everybody for listening. Please come and rate and subscribe. You can come and get your podcast from anywhere where you download your podcast from normally. We're on Spotify, Apple, and you can find us on YouTube as well. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Philippa Smith. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you've got any sort of comments or feedback, you can email me at philippa@silverswanrecruitment.com. And then obviously if we can help you with your job search, or if you're looking for staff, you can come to our agency, Silver Swan Recruitment. So thank you very much, and I will see you all, speak to you all again next week. Cheers, bye.